in Asia Pacific. So Marvin, if you'd like to go ahead. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Juliana. I hope my audio is clear. Good afternoon, good morning to our colleagues in the room. Let me start with a brief introduction. I am Marvin Lagonera. I serve as the city advisor for Southeast Asia and South Asia for the Global Covenant of Mayors City Climate Finance GAP Fund Partnership. So I work closely with city governments in the region in providing advice about how to review and enhance expressions of interest. So for this presentation, I'll be sharing a bit of an overview of the GAP Fund and also walk you through the expression of interest, which is the proposal form that you will need to fill out to be able to make a request for the GAP Fund. And many thanks to Fabian for the presentation. She's making my life easier in terms of actually contextualizing where the City Climate Finance GAP Fund is in the ecosystem of project preparation facilities. So it really focuses right on the early stages of project preparation. Later, I'll be providing some examples on that one. But just to give a bit of a background about the City Climate Finance GAP Fund, this was operationalized in September 2020 by the World Bank and European Investment Bank with funding support from various governments such as the German government and the government of Luxembourg. The GAF Fund works closely with various city networks such as C40 cities, the Global Covenant of Mayors for Climate and Energy, ICLE, and you've probably worked with some of these organizations. So at the Global Covenant of Mayors, we work closely with the GAF Fund in terms of building awareness about the GAF Fund and introducing the GAF Fund to cities and providing technical support on developing expressions of interest. Next slide, please. So next slide, please. All right. So the City Climate Finance GAF Fund really focuses on early stages of technical assistance with a focus on the urban context. Now, why cities? It's expected that by 2030, 60% of the total global population will be living in cities. 70% of global carbon emissions also comes from cities. So just by really working with cities to reduce their carbon emissions, we will be able to reduce significantly global carbon emissions. And then, of course, 80% of global economic output also comes from cities.
Because Marvin connection here.
Have in achieving climate thinking to yes. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I think we just lost you, Marvin. Sorry. Can you repeat the last one?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay.
Marvin, we can hear you now.
All right,
Yes.
perfect. I'm sorry about that. My internet connection is a bit weak.
Maybe you
Hopefully
can
my
try
audio
to
is clear now.
off your camera in case. Sorry to interrupt you. Sorry. Maybe if it works.
Sure, yeah. Let me do that. All right. Okay, so hopefully my audio is a bit better. So let me just carry on with the presentation. So if you could go to the next slide, the GAP Fund really focuses on early stages of technical project preparation, which include project conceptualization, strategy development, as well as pre-feasibility studies. And the gap it really fills is making sure that cities' project ideas are well developed, the technical evidence base to be able to um, package projects and present projects that are of high quality is available. Next slide, please. All right. I'm not sure if the slides are moving. Karina, which slide are you able to see on the screen?
Now it's still the cities data in
Are
percentage.
expected, right. Jazz, if you could move it to the slide on the role of GCoM. All right. So just in terms of the global context, cities are experiencing more and more climate risks and impacts. In the GCoM report in 2023, we found that the following are the key impacts that cities globally are experiencing. This include flooding and sea level rise, extreme precipitation, and extreme hot temperatures, as well as water scarcity. So there's really a need to be able to accelerate adaptation actions to be able to respond to these climate risks. At the same time, climate change adaptation projects, as well as mitigation projects, present various co-benefits, right? These projects can generate jobs, lead to better air quality, and reduce carbon emissions at the same time. So there are multiple social, environmental, and economic benefits by implementing climate actions. Next slide, please. So the City Climate Finance GAF Fund really aims to support on early stages of project preparation to be able to translate climate ambitions into actionable and bankable projects. Next slide, please. So these are some of the areas that the GAF Fund supports. First is really on technical assistance to cities during project preparation phase, enabling cities to be able to develop bankable and investment-ready projects, bridging the gap between project ideation and implementation, and increasing the potential of seeking and accessing finance. So I'll be presenting later some examples to better illustrate the kinds of support that the GAF Fund provides. So the role of GCoM, and together with me are Carolina and Jaslyn, and later we'll be having conversations during the breakout sessions. Our role is really to raise awareness about the GAF Fund and also to support cities in terms of preparing project proposals, which we call expressions of interest. And by the way, just to mention that we really appreciate the time and effort that the partner cities here have given to be able to fill out the expression of interest templates. And we're really amazed with the inputs that you have so far. So later we'll have the chance to really talk about your project ideas and enhance them. Earlier, Fabian talked about the scope of support provided by the different project preparation facilities. And in this ecosystem, the GAF Fund really focuses on the earlier stages of project preparation, and that includes strategy development, project definition, and pre-feasibility studies. So the GAF Fund does not cover advanced feasibility studies, investment, and actual implementation of the program through financing. Rather, the focus is on ensuring that cities have a strong pipeline of projects, that the strategies that cities have are well developed, the evidence base that cities are using are of high quality. The GAF Fund also supports in terms of really ensuring that the project concepts are well developed, and that there are essential technical evidence and assessment to help you strengthen the case for implementing the project. Next slide, please. So what are the eligibility criteria for the applicants to the GAF Fund? First one is that the proponent has to come from an OECD eligible country. Number two, there has to be climate action potential to the project. So later we'll have that discussion during the breakout sessions in terms of really ensuring that the climate lens to your project ideas is present, and that it's well described, right? So your projects can either be adaptation projects or climate change mitigation projects. If it's an adaptation project, we want to see how your project contributes to reducing climate risks. If it's a climate change mitigation project, we want to be able to see how your project actually significantly contributes to reducing greenhouse gas emissions. So it's important that the climate focus for your projects is there. I'll be sharing later some of the eligible sectors. The GAF Fund covers a wide range of sectors. Fourth criteria is an urban dimension, and really ensuring that the scale of the project is big enough, impacting or benefiting a significant part of the population. Number five, project stage. Again, the GAF Fund focuses on the early stages of project preparation, which include strategic planning, project concept, and pre-feasibility. So it's important to ensure that your project ideas fall under these categories. And then six, and finally, we want to also hear about the buy-in and political support, which was mentioned earlier. It's really important that there's political support from the local leadership. So these are some of
We have
the
another 10 minutes, Marvin.
All right, perfect. Thanks, Jazz. So these are some of the eligible sectors. It could be mobility-related, energy efficiency, green buildings, climate change adaptation. Many of the project ideas that we received focus on waste management, which is also part of the priority sectors. There are also project ideas around adaptation, funding. So that is also part of the coverage of GAP Fund. Next slide, please. Oops, it's not yet. All right. So quickly, I'll be talking about the expression of interest form, which our team, Jazz and Carolina, will be further discussing with you during the breakout sessions. So what is the expression of interest? Basically, gap fund proposals are submitted via an expression of interest form that's available on the gap fund website. So it's a short 4 or 5 pages of a template which you can download by scanning the QR code. And you have to fill out the gap fund EOI. And when it's ready to be submitted, you can upload it through the link on your screen. And once you upload it on the link, the gap fund secretariat will notify you about the receipt of your application, and they will start processing your application and make an assessment whether they'll be able to support or not support the technical assistance request. Next slide, please. All right, so just to give an overview, but many of you have already accessed a or has received a copy of the expression of interest form. Basically, there are 12 questions in the EOI form. The first section, first 4 questions, focuses on basic data and information. So under this section, you'll be asked to provide details about the city, the population, and contact details of the applicant. For section B, on key project details, this is really the most important section, because this is the section where you'll be describing your climate ideas and your request for technical assistance from the GAP Fund. So you can talk about the climate challenges that your city is facing and what the specific scope of the technical assistance request is about. And then finally, there's also a set of questions, 9 to 12, which will require you to describe some of the existing partnerships and engagements that you currently have with development partners, other financial institutions, to be able to understand previous engagements of the city. Next slide, please. All right. So just in terms of general do's and don'ts as you prepare the proposal, the first one is you have to clearly state who the applicant is. If the application is on behalf of a city official, you can share the name, position, and contact information of the city official. Number 2, emphasize the climate focus and keep it at the forefront of your application. So like I mentioned earlier, it's very important that you're able to describe how your project contributes to reducing climate risks or reducing carbon emissions. So it can be an adaptation project or a climate change mitigation project, or it can also be both. But it's really important that you're able to describe the scale by which your project will be able to reduce climate impacts or carbon emissions in your city. There's no need to provide a specific figures, numbers regarding the, reduced carbon emissions. You can provide high level description about how your project will potentially contribute to greenhouse gas emission reductions. Number 3, share the precise stage of the project and what kind of technical assistance is required. So it's very important that you're able to describe in a very specific manner what the technical assistance request is about. So you can describe, for example, what the specific technical outputs that you're expecting from the project. And again, ensuring that the focus is on the early stages of project preparation. So that includes strategy development, development of a pipeline of projects, project conceptualization, and pre-feasibility studies. On what not to do in terms of filling out the EOI form. The first one is do not apply as an individual. So it's important to really make sure that there's buy-in from the local leadership or the local government. Number two, do not apply with a generalized proposal without a clear climate focus. So as mentioned earlier, be very specific about how your project contributes to reducing climate risks or increasing climate or reducing carbon emissions. So number three is to really provide specifics on the scope of the technical assistance and to really make sure that your project is not in the later stages, but rather on the earlier stages, right, that I described earlier. So I'll probably share like one last slide. If you could go to the next slide, just to uh allow you to visualize what the kinds of technical assistance are that the GAF Fund has delivered so far. The first one is on climate strategy development. So in Chennai, the GAF Fund supported in developing a solid waste management plan with a focus on low carbon development. So the city requested specifically for support in developing a solid waste management plan that has a focus on being able to reduce carbon emissions. So the GAF Fund supported the city in defining priority strategies to achieve low carbon pathway in the waste management sector. In terms of a definition of a project concept, one example is in Quezon City, wherein the GAF Fund supported the city in understanding the investment costs associated with the priority climate actions of the city. So Quezon City government has an existing climate action plan 2021 to 2050 with priority climate actions. Now, what the city requested is for the GAF Fund to provide analysis of the investment costs associated with those priority projects. What are the emission reductions potential of those projects, and will the city be able to meet the targets that they set through those actions? The GAF Fund also helped Quezon City in identifying what are the best financing strategies for the different climate change mitigation projects. And finally, one example of a pre-feasibility study was a project with Port Villa in Vanuatu, which focused on pre-feasibility studies on biogas generation technologies as alternatives to the current waste management practices. So the city wanted to know what are the technologies available to be able to generate biogas, and what is the most viable, cost-effective technology. And so the GAF Fund supported Port Villa in terms of identifying the best technology out there and being able to actually provide guidance on pilot projects on biogas generation. So I'll pause here and maybe we can open the floor for questions. Later, we'll be having a breakout group discussion. So if you have questions about the form, and we also have some prepared some feedback that you can use to be able to enhance your project proposals. So thank you, and